Greetings, cousins near and far. Welcome to my channel, Ancestral Spotlight. If you would be so kind as to give a like and subscribe to my channel, it would be greatly appreciated. It helps make this channel more visible. Check out the description box below for links to my website, services, books, products and merch, socials, and Patreon. If you have any questions, comments, or would like information about my DNA studies and groups, direct those to the comments below or email me at ancestralspotlight@gmail.com. Virginia's northern neck is a land of great beauty and rich history. It was once home to many Native American tribes who established villages along its shores. For centuries, the northern neck was the ancestral homeland of these tribes. They fished, hunted, and farmed the land, living in harmony with nature. Some of these tribes were the Patawomeck, Rappahannock, Chickahominy, Mattaponi, Nansemond, Pamunkey, Monacan, Doeg, and Nanzatico. In the winter of 1607-1608, Captain John Smith embarked on a journey up the Rappahannock River, but it wasn't a leisurely adventure. He was a prisoner of the Powhatans. Despite his predicament, Smith was determined to explore the unknown territory. As he traveled further up the river, he became the first European to ever lay eyes on Virginia's northern neck. With steadfast resolve, he repeated the voyage in June 1608, accompanied by 14 companions, reaching the Patawomeck River by June 16th. During his expedition, Smith encountered an array of fur-bearing animals that were highly sought after by the Native American tribes. These animals included beavers, otters, minks, and muskrats, all of which had valuable pelts that were used for clothing, blankets, and trade. The Virginia tribes were also known for trading in other goods, such as copper, shell beads, pottery, and tobacco. These items were often traded with neighboring tribes and, in the years following Smith's expedition, with European explorers and settlers who arrived in the area. Over time, the English began to settle in the northern neck, pushing the Native Americans out of their ancestral lands. The 1650s saw English colonists settling on the northern neck frontier. The Patawomeck were a native tribe that had lived in the region for centuries and were historically known for cultivating peace with the settlers. However, the Doeg, Patawomeck, and Rappahannock joined other local tribes and began disputing the settlers' claims to land and resources. Virginia's northern neck is a historic region with a rich and fascinating past. It is a land blessed with natural beauty, and it was once the site of one of the most significant land grants in American history. In 1666, the English King Charles II issued the original Northern Neck Land Grant. This grant encompassed all the unsettled lands bounded by the Patawomeck and Rappahannock rivers, and later by the Fairfax Line, which connected their sources. This grant was significantly larger than the area currently known as the Northern Neck. Despite this, most early development occurred in the peninsula's eastern end, because both the Patawomeck and Rappahannock rivers were navigable waters and the roads were limited and/or in poor condition. The Northern Neck's excellent natural resources allowed for the emergence of rich planters who established tobacco plantations. The land grant's independence, together with the area's natural resources and fertile soil, made it an ideal place for these plantations. The plantations and the wealth they generated transformed the Northern Neck into a prosperous region that was the envy of many. The friction between the natives and the colonists gave rise to growing tensions that eventually led to a conflict between the two groups. Among these tribes was the Patawomeck, who were the targets of a brutal massacre during this time. In July 1666, the colonists declared war on them, leading to a series of violent confrontations that lasted for years, and which are best documented among the Doeg. The exact details of the massacre are unclear, but it is believed that the Patawomeck and Doeg tribes were attacked by a group of English settlers and their allies, who had grown increasingly hostile toward the native people. Note that the Patawomeck are considered one and the same as the Potomac, for which the river and region were named. The English colonial government of Virginia, in July of 1666, recorded in the minutes of the Council and General Court of Virginia and called for, quote, towns of Mosaicon, Nazamond, and Port Tobacco, with the whole nation of the Doegs and Potomac's be forthwith prosecuted, with war, to their utter destruction, if possible. End quote. While conclusive evidence of the massacre remains elusive, meaning that this single reference is the only known surviving account of the English attack on the Doegs and Potomacs, some researchers have suggested that the purported 1666 massacre of the Patawomeck may be unsubstantiated. It's important to note that modern accounts present conflicting information, and that the historical evidence surrounding the alleged massacre is subject to interpretation and debate. Regardless, there are certainly clashes between the English and the Indian tribes of the region in 1666 that are documented. The massacre of the Patawomeck Indians had far-reaching consequences for the region. It marked a turning point in the relationship between the native people and the English settlers. The Patawomeck were never able to fully recover from the devastation of the massacre, and their population declined rapidly in the following years. The Patawomeck tribe's survival to this day is largely attributed to the oral tradition of their history, which includes accounts of intermarriages between descendants of the Patawomeck survivors and prominent English families. The remains of the Patawomeck tribe exist today in Stafford County, Virginia, tucked between the Rappahannock and Potomac rivers. The location is considered a burned county, meaning that many important documents were lost during wartime. However, many family branches of this tribe have been reconstructed with documentation, numerous oral depositions, and genetic evidence. Be on the lookout for what is at the date of this video being released, my forthcoming book, Anna the Patawomeck. In it, we examine the documented lineages and genetic data from dozens of descendants of Anna the Patawomeck, identify the common segments of DNA shared among them, and view the Amerindian markers on those segments. While not all paper documents have survived these few hundred years, the blood and spirit of the Patawomeck lives on.